Om Tava Kathamritam Tapta Jeevanam Kavibhiriritam Kalmashapaham Sravanamangalam Srimadaatatam Bhuvi Grananti Ye Bhurida Jana. The Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna, the Master with the Brahmo devotees, May 27, 1883. Sri Ramakrishna was in his room at Dakshineshwar conversing with the devotees. It was about 9 o'clock in the morning. Master to M and other devotees. It is not good to harbor malice. The Shaktas, the Vaishnavas and the Vedantists quarrel among themselves. That is not wise. Padmalochan was court pandit at the Maharaja of Bardwan. Once at a meeting, the pandits were discussing whether Shiva was superior to Brahma or Brahma to Shiva. Padmalochan gave an appropriate reply. I don't know anything about it, said he. I haven't talked either to Shiva or to Brahma. So, this is the conversation which has a very, very deep significance. That all our religious quarrel is because we don't have realization. So that's what Padmalochan has indicated when he says that I don't know anything about it, said he. I haven't talked either to Shiva or to Brahma. Means I don't have the direct realization. And all the quarrel starts when we believe in doctrines and dogma, and that belief is not substantiated by realization. That the example which we give again and again, suppose a man who have tasted mango comes and describes the taste of mango to a group of people who have never tasted mango. He says the mango is sweet and it has a nice flavor. Now everyone thinks they have understood, because they have tasted something sweet and they have smelled something which has nice fragrance, which gives the flavor. So they try to relate their fund of experience, available fund of experience, with the words which has been spoken of by the one who has tasted the mango. So what happens? We find varied opinions. Someone says that the mango is as sweet as the molasses and it has a flavor like the tuberose. Someone says, no. It is as sweet as the honey and it has the flavor of jasmine. So what all are trying to relate those words. They thought that we have understood. They are trying to relate those words with their available fund of experience. That only realization alone speaks of knowledge. Without that, just mere concept can never give us knowledge. So that you'll find that so much varied opinions develop and there is quarrel among themselves. Now all those who have not tasted the mango but try to conceptualize the taste of mango by hearing the words of the one who has tasted the mango, among them one somehow gets the chance to taste the mango. Immediately he will understand that the word which has been spoken is true, and now he has realized, and all the quarrels in which he himself was also engaged, that immediately stops. He will become quiet. No more vitarka. That before you realize, all the quarrel comes. The moment the realization is there, the quarrel stops. So that's why he's saying very nicely that there is so much quarrel going on. Why? When the opinion of Padma Lochan was asked, he was quiet. He said, I haven't realized. So if I try to speak out something, that will be adding to the quarrel. The various perspectives with which we are trying to realize we are trying to speak of the ultimate reality without realization. So that's the thing which has been spoken of here. So the story which we say in the present world, it is so applicable that we think that we are the world who is holding the banner of religion. Unknowingly, actually, we are holding the banner of Satan, not of God. That's how that the story goes, that someone, the emissary of Satan, came and gave the news to Satan, that what? That your reign is over. God has incarnated and he is spelling out the truth. And Satan told, you are all fools. You're all fools. You haven't seen properly what's going on there. Just go and have a look. They went back again and now had an intent look at what was going on. And then they realized that those who were listening to the words of God who has incarnated, they were all the emissaries of Satans. So after hearing, when they start preaching, the work of the Satan will be done. And that's what is happening throughout the world. All this fight is because without realization, when we try to relate to the words of the scriptures, sometimes we become those howling fanatics, all shouting at each other, creating noise instead of peace. The religion which was supposed to create peace is just creating noise. And if it was just noise, still it was better. In the name of religion, this havoc is going on, killings. We say we are the emissaries of peace, and in the name of peace, all the killings, sabotage is going on throughout the world. And just this is a simple word which Sri Ramakrishna said, and that's why Swamiji said, the world is yet to realize the words of Sri Ramakrishna, which is coming from the depth of his realization. So then, the Sri Ramakrishna's conversation continues. What he says, if people feel sincere longing, they will find that all paths lead to God. But one should have nishtha, single-minded devotion. It is also described as chaste and unswerving devotion to God. So, this is again the thing which Sri Ramakrishna is again indicating, that without realization there is no religion. Religion is not a matter of make-believe. That each of us who think that we are religious, our aim should be to go beyond our belief, to reach a state of realization. And for that we should have a sincere longing. That's the only criteria for taking us to the realization. That if people feel sincere longing, they will find that all paths lead to God. All paths. How it leads to God? If we try to study all the various faiths, we find as per our beliefs are concerned, they are so varied. But as per the practice is concerned, yes, they are also varied. But is there any commonality in all the practice? Yes. In all the faith there is a commonality. What's the commonality? That whatever we believe, as per the belief, whatever dictum is pronounced by the teacher to the student, in all the faiths you will find the instruction is repeat it, repeat it, repeat it. The same thing is repeated every day, days after day, month after month. Why this repetition? In the modern psychological language, that what we do again and again, these repetitive thoughts, that as if creates a path in the mind. And once the path is created, it's a neuroplasticity which we are speaking of. Once the path is created, then an obsession develops. Most probably out of necessity I was doing something, and then it created a path in my mind. And once the path is created, very important thing, if I just do some repetition without any yearning, that yearning speaks of the necessity. A sense of necessity should be the yearning. Mere mechanical repetition won't do. That out of necessity, I I have faith in the words of the Guru, and I want to transcend this world of duality. This has become a yearning, a burning desire in my heart, and that is leading to the repetition, and this repetition at last will develop into devotion, love. And once that love develops, whatever may be your faith, even some meaningless idea, that doesn't matter. If we have deep faith, that's why Sri Ramakrishna in some other context says that after many, many lives of austerity, one develops that simple faith. That faith is something wonderful. That's the thing which can take us to the ultimate realization. We just with faith believe in the words of the spiritual teacher and resort to the practice with a yearning in the heart, and that neuroplasticity will develop into that result in that creating a path in your mind. And once the path is created, you start developing a love for it. Devotion develops. And you will find the real meditation always comes from love, from devotion. Before that, it is mechanical. When I am using my willpower, I can never have perfect meditation. That willpower has got converted into devotion. Then what happens? That devotion makes my concentration spontaneous and very deep. I will find the thing which I like, when I do with full focus, it makes me forget everything. Not only the external thing. You will find those who are passionate about instruments, playing instrumental music. For hours they are playing, or any other form of performing arts. For hours they are performing. How it happens? Because they are so absorbed, what to speak of the external world. Even their bodily feelings, the mind cannot register. Hunger, thirst, tiredness, need for sleep. He is not at all aware of them. They are not registering his mind. He is fully focused on the thing he is doing. And the last thing to fall off is the ego, the sense that I am this limited body-mind complex. A part of my mind from my birth till my death is always holding on to that ego. I can never forget. Just the way I cannot jump out of my shadow. Can I run away from my shadow? I cannot. In the same way, that ego is constantly my companion. I cannot jump out of it. However I may try, the only way is this focus. The tremendous focus at last, when it becomes so intense that it makes me forget about this individualized personality. And in the scriptures they say that takes you to the state of samadhi. What is that samadhi? Triputi Bheda. Triputi Bheda. What is the Triputi Bheda? The collapsing of the triad. What is this triad? The three things. Dhyana, Dhyata, Dheya. The one who is meditating, the Dhyata, the object of meditation is Dheya, and the process of meditation is the Dhyana. This triad collapses. Why it collapses? Because however my mind may be concentrated, till that collapse happens, that ego is still intact. I know I am meditating, intently meditating. The idea that that's still there. But when that mind has become so concentrated that the ego also has fallen off, that I am meditating, that idea is no more there. You become one with the object of meditation. And that's the state of all the mystics in all the religion. We find Sri Ramakrishna says, Shekhane, Shop Shealer Akra. All the fox howls in the same manner when they reach that state. Throughout the history of world religion, you will find the mystics in all the religions were persecuted. They were spoken of as heretics, non-believers, because their realization was not conforming with the so-called make-believes of all the doctrines, the dogmas of all the religion. They went beyond that to relate that unitary experience. In Islam, when you say Anal Haq, you become a blasphemic. Why? That the Sufis used to say Anal Haq. Al Haq means the ultimate truth. The moment you say Anal Haq, it means I am the truth. Immediately, the so-called, all the priests, the so-called upholders of religion will start shouting, it's blasphemy. How can you say you are the truth? Only the ultimate reality is the truth. The moment you say that, you are persecuted. Even in the Christian, the same thing. All the mystics, you'll find a history, they were declared as heretics, branded as heretics. They were speaking of that unitary experience. Even the founder, even the one from whom the Christianity has evolved, he was crucified because of that. Because he said, I am God. I am one with God. The same mystic experience he is speaking of. Even, and that we find somehow the Vedantic tradition was such, where in the name of religion, the persecution was not there. So we find in ages, so many sages reaching that unitary experience. But what we want to say? That this thing is, there's the mystics, they speak the same language. When they go to that unitary experience, they have realized the truth. Before that, it is all make-believe. So that's why Sri Ramakrishna is saying that if you profess to be religious, their quest should be for that ultimate realization. That longing should be there. That it's not just mere belief. Because Swamiji, as he used to say, that it is good to be born in a church. It is good to be born in a church means it is good to be born in a particular belief. Not just by church, he is not indicating a particular religion. By church, he is indicating any form of organized religion. It is good to be born there. That gives you the belief system to hold on. But if you stay in that throughout your life, it's horrible. That's why he's saying it is good to be born in a church, but it is horrible to die there. You have to outgrow. The religion in the beginning stage is just like the fencing that Sri Ramakrishna used to say. When a small sapling is just growing, to protect it from the grazing animal, we put a fence. But when that sapling has grown into a big, huge tree, that fence has no use. That fence just can be just thrown off. Its purpose has been served. So all the so-called the make-believes, the doctrines and the dogmas of religion are just like that fencing. It helps us to grow. But if I find that this fencing is still required, even after years of my religious practice, that speaks of what? The sapling has not grown. For some reason or other, it has not grown. So that's the thing, that till you, with the longing, you go to the realization, you can never have that unitary experience. If you go there all the fox howls in the same manner. So that's what Sri Ramakrishna is saying. If people feel sincere longing, they will find that all the paths lead to God. But one should have nishtha. That's the only thing. That whatever be your faith, you should have full nishtha, full perseverance to hold on to it, single-minded devotion. In some other context, Sri Ramakrishna says a very nice thing, that you need not have some refined belief. Even some crude belief, if you have a nishtha, that will take you to the realization. That Sri Ramakrishna says just a simple person, an ordinary person, went to a learned guru and asked him to be initiated. The guru, he just thought that he is just a simple person. For him, to instruct him in the ways of spiritual life is of no use. So he told some meaningless word and told, just go on repeating it. And after a few months, this so-called innocent simple man comes back fully illumined. What has happened? That so-called useless words which he has given, he hold on to it with nishtha, with full faith he has hold on to it, repeated it, that resorted to neuroplasticity. He has created a path in his mind, and automatically the devotion has grown. So what you're repeating is not at all important. The devotion has grown, now your meditation has become spontaneous, more intense, and then it has taken you to a state where the ego also has fallen off. You have as if created a hole in the wall of ego, and you're peeping through it, you see the infinite expanse of your own dimension of existence. The ego falls off to take you there to that awareness of that non-dual experience. And then all your doubts has fallen off, and now you will find that it has taken you to that highest realization. So this is just a way, as Buddha used to say, to everyone, I am not giving any instruction of any principle. I am trying to show the world the moon with my index finger. With my index finger I am pointing to the moon to show the moon, and the world takes the index finger to be the moon. That for a small child it happens. When the mother is trying to show the moon to the small child, as the small child is very much attached to the personality of the mother, so it always, its focus is on the mother. When the mother is pointing with the index finger to the moon, this child always takes the mother to be the only be all and end all of existence. So it's so attached to the mother that when she's pointing with the finger to the moon, the child's attention is on the finger, it never goes to the moon. So in all the religion, in the name of our faith, we get so attached to the personality that all these personalities are actually with the index finger focusing to something. We never look at that. That personality becomes the be all and end all. And if you don't believe in that personality, then for you there is eternal hell waiting. That also has happened throughout the world. Even now it's going on. So that's the thing Sri Ramakrishna is pointing so directly, that if people feel sincere longing, they will find at all paths, this is very important, lead to God. But one should have nishtha, that's a very important thing, single-minded devotion. It is also described as chaste and unswavering devotion to God. Now he will give an example of what this chaste and unswavering devotion to means. Does it mean hating other religion? No. Nishtha for your own ishta doesn't mean hating others. That still you can have love for all. How? That's a nice example Sri Ramakrishna will give in this succeeding discussion. So first, let us read what Sri Ramakrishna is saying next. Such was a single-minded devotion of the gopis to Krishna, that they didn't care to look at anyone but the Krishna they had seen at Vrindavan, the shepherd Krishna, bedecked with a garland of yellow wildflowers and wearing a peacock feather on his crest. At the sight of Krishna at Mathura, with a turban on his head and dressed in royal robes, the gopis pulled down their veils. They would not look at his face. Who is this man? They said. Should we violate our chaste love for Krishna by talking to him? The same Krishna, when he is in the royal dress at Mathura, the gopis went to see them. They never recognized him. Because just Sri Ramakrishna is indicating, giving the example of the chaste love. So to them, the Krishna is that one who was the Gopala of the Vrindavan, the cowherd boy of the Vrindavan. So that's the chaste love, that they want to see their Ishta the way they love. So even there is a nice another story told by Sri Ramakrishna in some other context in the Gospel, that once Hanuman, because Hanuman is Chiranjeevi, he is eternal. So he came to see Krishna, and in Mathura, and Krishna took the form of Rama. When Hanuman came to see Krishna, he immediately took the form of Rama, because he knew that's the form in which Rama relates to his highest reality, the highest reality. So that's the nishtha which is spoken of. But after that, Sri Ramakrishna will say, interesting, but does it mean hating others? No. The devotion of the wife to her husband is also an instance of unswavering love. Now a nice example Sri Ramakrishna is giving, that your love for your Ishta is very good, but that doesn't entail in hatred for others. What a nice example Sri Ramakrishna will give now. She feeds her, that the devotion of the wife to her husband is also an instant of unswavering love. And then what Ramakrishna is saying, she feeds her brothers-in-law as well and looks after their comforts. But she has a special relationship with her husband. So that's very important. That's the nishtha. That you have a special relationship with your ishta. That doesn't mean you don't care for others. So that she feeds her brothers-in-law. She takes care of all in the family. but she loves them all, but she has a special relationship with the husband. So that's the thing which Sri Ramakrishna is indicating, that your nishtha for your ishta doesn't mean you should be inimical towards other. So likewise, one may have that single-minded devotion to one's own religion, but one should not on that account hate other faiths. On the contrary, one should have a friendly attitude towards them. This is simple, and such simple words he has spoken. And this is Maya. That Ramakrishna, the divine incarnation, is coming and speaking out the truth in such simple language, and still we find this word doesn't enter our ears. So another 100 years have passed, we are still fighting in the name of religion. It's going on. There's such simple words which speaks of that wonderful Catholic truth. The master bathed in the Ganges and then went to the Kali temple with M. He sat before the image and offered flowers at the feet of the Divine Mother. Now and then he put flowers on his own head and meditated. So this putting the flower on his own head and meditated. It's not only their word, but their acts also actually is something which we have to inculcate. That what's the meaning? Putting the flower on your head and meditating. So in ritualistic worship, there is an idea of Manas Puja. It's called Ahangraha Upasana. Manas, what is that? You think yourself as one with the deity, and then you worship. Then the meditation, then your worship is contemplation on yourself, not as an ordinary human being. That it is you who are actually in essence the same divine principle. Thinking of yourself as the divine principle, you meditate on yourself. Even in the Bible, we find Jesus is saying, worship the Spirit by the Spirit. This is very important. Why? See, otherwise the worship becomes very materialistic. If I think myself just as an ordinary human being and I am trying to relate to the divine, then what happens? All my prayers become materialistic. That God is something who is eternal, but I am bothered with this, my limited existence, and its joys and sorrows. So I will be praying for my health, for my wealth, for my good relationships. But when you think yourself as the Spirit, then what happens? This existence becomes just a small, infinitely small part of your real me. That becomes the hunger, that I am eternal, God is eternal. This life is just a small, infinitely small part of this, my real existence. Then what happens? The joys, the trivial joys and sorrows of this life no more matters. What I will be praying? God, let me not forget about this eternal relationship with you, my eternal relationship. I was, I am, I will be, you are, you were, you will be, and we are in the eternal companionship. Bhakta thinks that way. A Jnani thinks of identification with the ultimate reality. There is not much difference. Both are negating this so-called transient worldly existence and trying to relate to that infinite dimension of their existence. So that's why always this instruction has been given to do this type of worship. This is called Ahangraha Upasana. It has some other implications also. What is that? When you think the deity is sitting on the altar and I am here just there to bow down and pray to him, then again and again what will happen? I will say I am the sinner. I cannot be that ultimate, perfect, real. That's we find in many religions, all the dualistic religion. That's the idea. I am the sinner. I am papi. I pray to you. You are the ultimate reality. I come. I ask for pardon, but I know I am papi. I can never be that ultimate purified being. So all the good qualities I impose it on the so-called divinity. I remain as I am. And now I do all sorts of things, and now and then I will come, oh please wash away my sins. So there cannot be such shortcut in religion. if I am this eternal soul, which is in eternal companionship with the divine, then all these sins are just the surface, are just something which is adhering to me, that doesn't really define me, that has to be washed off. That's why in ritualistic worship, before the worship, they do a lot of nyasa, that all the superimpositions which speaks of my impurities, that has to be washed off. So that I can contemplate on the real essence of my being, which is pure, which is divine. So that's why this idea of keeping the flower, generally we keep the flower on the head of the deity, the arghya on the head of the deity. So here you are putting it on your head because you are contemplating yourself as the divine. And you are communing with the divine which is within you. So that's what we find in this practice. The Sri Ramakrishna, now and then he put the flower on his head and then meditated. While the master was resting after his midday meal, Manohar Goswami, a singer of Kirtan, arrived. He sang about the ecstatic love of Gauranga and the divine episode of Vrindavan. The master was absorbed in a deep spiritual mood. He tore off his shirt and said to the melody of the Kirtan, assuming the attitude of Radha, "O Krishna, my beloved, O friends, bring Krishna to me. Then you will be real friends, or take me to him, and I will be your slave forever." So just see the tremendous, the spiritual fervor. The Sri Ramakrishna, when he used to hear Kirtan, so much overwhelmed he used to get. He becomes totally identified, as if he himself is a gopi and he has forgotten the time, space, causation. The bhakta has his own way to go beyond the time, space, causation. Sitting in Dakshineshwar, he is feeling he is in Vrindavan and he is having the pangs of the gopi. He is tearing his own shirt and with the pangs he is just crying out that, "O Krishna, my beloved, O friends, bring Krishna to me. Then you will be my real friends, or take me to him and I will be your slave forever." The musician sat spellbound at Sri Ramakrishna's ecstasy. Then he said with folded hands, "Won't you please rid me of my worldliness?" So seeing the Ramakrishna in that exalted mood, he also had that tremendous faith that he must be a divine incarnation, or even if not an incarnation, a highly elevated soul. Otherwise, how can one have such tremendous divine fervor, such tremendous devotion? So he's asking, that what he's asking, "Won't you please rid me from my worldliness?" So this is a very interesting thing. When with faith you ask such a thing, then God also becomes helpless. In some other context, we will come back to this. In some other context, in Dakshineshwar, there was a sweeper. His name was Rashik. His ancestral property has now become one of the centers of Sharda Math. So this Rashik was a sweeper. He saw that in Dakshineshwar, he knew nothing of this religion, or philosophy, nothing he knew. He was to come to Dakshineshwar temple just to clean. But he saw the so-called elite of the society. They are now and then frequently visiting to Sri Ramakrishna, sitting under his feet, listening to his words of wisdom. And that made him feel that he must be a great man. He must be a great man, a great person. Otherwise, why so many people are coming and intently listening to him? So now, as you know that he was from that class, the sweeper class, he didn't have that sufficient courage to ever enter his room. So one day he was waiting. That Ramakrishna was out, he went to the Ganges and he was returning to his room, and this Rashik Mathur, the sweeper, was just waiting on the path. And the moment that Ramakrishna came near, he fell flat on the ground and he asked this same question. But will nothing happen to me? And then Ramakrishna's reply was wonderful. He never said yes or no. He told this rascal has amar shala dhore feleche. He has somehow realized that what I am, dhore feleche. That generally even an avatara, we take him as an ordinary human being. And Ramakrishna is saying this fellow somehow, with his simple faith, has realized what I am. This shala dhore feleche. That was the conversation. And this Rashik Mathur had a wonderful vision at the time of his death. It's recorded that he was so weak he couldn't get up from his bed, and in the last moment suddenly he got some tremendous energy. He shouted at his wife, "Don't you see? The Paramahamsa has come. Give a seat." He asked for a chair to be kept just near his deathbed. So just see that we were just saying that tremendous yearning and that faith, that's the only thing needed for religion. Even a simple person like Rashik Mathur can go to that realization. So you will find here also the same thing. As this singer sings Sri Ramakrishna's divine fervor, as if have understood that he must be a great and is asking for deliverance, immediately Sri Ramakrishna says that you are like the holy man. Master's reply is wonderful. You are like the holy man who went about the city after first finding a lodging. You are a sweet person and express many sweet ideas. This is a very nice thing he's saying. That's a holy man. What's the idea here? The holy man was traveling, and he came to a certain city and wanted to have a look around the city. So, and he was going around, he was moving around, and some other person saw him. Most probably he was known to him previously, saw him and told, "Well, what are you doing here?" He told, "Yes, I am just moving around to get amused by the so-called the landscapes of the city, the hustle bustle of the city. I just want to entertain myself with what's going on in the city." And the other person asked, "But where is your luggage? I don't see. Because you are traveling. Where is your luggage?" Then he told, "First I got some shelter. I managed to got some shelter. I kept my luggage there. I locked the room. And then I am here out to look at what's going on in this hustle bustle of the city, to amuse myself." So in Bengali that word is, that's why many will learn Bengali just to read the gospel in the original words, because those words in Bengali, it's very difficult to translate. Here we are reading the translation, but the real word is Basha Pakreche, that he has first got hold of the recipe, Basha Pakreche. So what's the idea here? That when he found that he's asking for the deliverance, so Sri Ramakrishna immediately understood that he has hit the point. Whatever he may be doing now, it doesn't matter. He has hit the point. He has got hold of the treasure. He has locked it within. Now he may go and amuse himself. He will be delivered at last. It's a very, very, very powerful word he's saying. You are like the holy man who went about the city after first finding a lodging. You are a sweet person and express many sweet ideas. That he is a Kathak. He's describing the words to the world. There are so many Kathaks. But to really feel that intense yearning, and by seeing a holy person, to really resign to him, feeling that he must be an exalted soul who can deliver me, it's not easy. Generally the Kathaks, the so-called those who speak about spirituality, become highly egoistic, concretized egoistic person. With that, we all have to be very, very cautious at each and every step in our spiritual journey. The ego is such a thing, as Sri Ramakrishna used to say, it's just like the roots of a banyan tree. In the old building, you'll find in the cracks, from the cracks, the saplings, the banyan saplings are coming out. So if you cut the banyan tree, after a few days, again the banyan saplings will come out. Why? The roots has gone so deep that even if you cut the sapling, again because of the roots, they get nourished and again the sapling comes out. So Ramakrishna is saying the ego is something like that. In spiritual journey, that ego is there to distract us at each and every step. A spiritual teacher, he may get distracted. Oh, I have become the teacher of so many people. The world is respecting me. Oh, he got distracted. The ego has concretized again. The sapling has come out. But here we find this Kathak. In spite of all these accolades and recognitions which he had, when he came to Ramakrishna, seeing that intense yearning in him, he immediately understood. He is the man of realization. He is the God who has incarnated. And he is surrendering to himself. And Ramakrishna understood. Basha Pakreche. He has got hold of the real thing. He has locked it as a treasure. Now he may go to the world, do whatever, his preaching and other things he may do, they're all secondary details. He has got the treasure and locked it. That's what he's saying. But the musician was really a very humble soul. After hearing that, what he's saying is very interesting. Sir, I am like a bullock that one only carries the bag of sugar, but cannot taste it. Alas, I myself do not enjoy the sweetness of divine bliss. He's humbly saying that. Just see, as a teacher, how much humility you have, that I am just like an ass which is carrying the bag of sugar but have not tasted the sugar. And but Ramakrishna has already assured him that you have already locked the treasure in your home. There is no, now, what you say, there's worries for you. God is assuring him, you will do whatever you want. There are some such stories, similar stories. Some are in the gospel, some are not in the gospel. In the gospel we find in one place Girish Ghosh is saying, what will happen to me? And Sri Ramakrishna is saying, he's abusing him, he's just scolding him and saying, that do you think an ordinary snake has bitten you? It's a cobra. Once it has bitten you, now you may run away from the cobra. You may go to the top of the Himalayas. You may go to the bottom of the ocean. But the poison will act. You have to die. Just that thing, that's the same thing, that poison, that the deliverance, that once you resign, the Girish has resigned. Sri Ramakrishna used to say that he has 125% bhakti, not 100%. 125% bhakti. Pachshike Pachana bhakti. That he has tremendous bhakti, that will deliver him. That's what he's saying, that you have been bitten by a cobra. And we find another nice story with Swami Vivekananda. When he was in the West, he was tired of lecturing, so his devotees arranged for some relaxation. He was in Camp Percy. He was camping in a place, this is called Percy, Camp Percy, and he was relaxing. Somehow he need not have to give everyday lectures, but the devotees who were with him, they used to have some casual conversation after the meals. So one day after the breakfast, they were all sitting together and there was some conversation. And Sri Ramakrishna and Swami Vivekananda told another story which we don't find in the gospel. What he said? The story is that there was a witch which is to stay by the side of a reservoir in the deep forest. She used to hide herself. And when some villager came to take a dip in that reservoir in the forest, she had a special characteristics. What? She would somehow unknowingly, without that person's knowledge, would tie one of her hairs on his leg. And now, this hair had a wonderful that characteristic. What? If you drag it, it will go on elongating. Now that person doesn't know. He took a dip, and then this witch has tied the hair on his toe, and now this person returns to the village. As it stretches, the hair goes on extending. Now the story goes very interesting, that if the witch is hungry, then if anyone comes to this reservoir deep in the forest, she will immediately swallow him. But if she is not hungry, she will tie that hair. And this person doesn't know about it. Most probably he has taken the bath and he has went back, had his meals, had his dinner, and then at night he is sleeping, having a sound sleep, and now this witch is hungry. Now she will start dragging that hair and drag that person and swallow him. So this Ramakrishna used to say this story, and then he used to say that this witch, who is that witch? He is to point himself. That some are there who has been delivered immediately. Some are there who has been allowed, go back to your village, have your normal life. But in time, you will be pulled. So that's what Sri Ramakrishna has indicated to that person, that you are a holy man. You are like that holy man who went to about the city after first finding the lodging. So now that hair has been already tied, that lodging means that tying that hair on his feet. And now you may go. That story is not related totally here. That story goes that after that the man goes out to have that amusement in the city. But that doesn't matter in any way, because he has done the correct thing. He has locked his treasure and then came out. So there is no fear for him. he will be delivered. So, the melodious music went on and all were filled with joy. Saturday, 2nd June 1883, Sri Ramakrishna had been invited to visit the homes of his devotees, Balaram, Adhar and Ram in Calcutta. Devotional music had been arranged by Adhar and Ram. The master was accompanied in the carriage by Rakhal, Aim and others. As they drove along, Sri Ramakrishna said to the devotees, "You see, sin flies away when the love of God grows in a man's heart. Even as the water of the reservoir dug in a meadow dries up under the heat of the sun. But one cannot love God if one feels attracted to worldly things, to woman and gold. Merely taking the vow of monastic life will not help a man if he is attached to the world. It is like swallowing your own spittle after spitting it out on the ground." So that what is required? Real love for God, not external renunciation. Just taking the external vows of, even in our order after sannyasa, our sannyasa guru, the president of the order, says, even during our sannyasa it was told that what you had today, it's just worth a few cents. You go to the market, you buy that the gerua, that's the soil with which we dye our cloth. It's very cheap. In a few cents you get it. So what you got today is that cheap. Unless you can dye your heart, the inner, the real, being with that sannyasa, with the real renunciation. This external renunciation is very cheap. And that's what Sri Ramakrishna is saying. Merely taking the vows of monastic life will not help a man if he is attached to the world. It is like swallowing your own spittle. During the sannyasa you have resolved something, but you cannot take the result, you cannot live up to that resolution. And that's Sri Ramakrishna saying, it is like swallowing your own spittle after spitting it out to the ground. The thutu fele, thutu gela. You're spitting and that it is something like that. So what's the real thing in spiritual life? That yearning, that love. Once you have, Sri Ramakrishna is saying, the other desires falls off. How it happens? Just now we were speaking that when you have love for God, how it develops? That willfully I resort to the practice, that then the neuroplasticity helps to create as if a path in the mind. Now I develop love for it. Now once I develop love, this love is qualitatively different from all other love. You will say, how? See, throughout the process of evolution, whatever obsession out of necessity we have developed, you'll find it is all extrinsic. My love for wealth, it is something extrinsic. Wealth is something which is apart from me. I have to gain it. My relations, my wealth, my position in life, these are all something apart from me. So, throughout my life I will find whenever I am chasing after the desires, what is happening? I am always worried. Why? Because I have to pass through the traffic. I have to go to my destination as early as possible, but I find there is a red signal. Why? Because all the desires are external and they are all clashing. If there is a job for 10 people, thousands are applying. So we know only 10 will get, others won't get. Others will get the red signal. So we are all passing through the roads which are full of traffic. Because all our desires are external. We may get them, we may not get them. And once we achieve them, we may lose them. So it is full of fears, tension. But now this new practice, love of God, I am just taking the name, contemplating. This is something which has nothing to do with the external world. I just think of the divine and immediately that love flows, because through neuroplasticity, what has happened, I've created the path in the life. This path has no traffic. It is just like the freeway. It is just like the freeway which has no junctions. So if I know to go to my destination, there is a freeway and there are so many roads which passes through the traffic, what will be my choice? I will of course go through the freeway. Why should I go through the traffic? So once we develop love for God, it is qualitatively different from all other love. And our natural tendency, who wants tussles and struggles and tensions? No one likes. As I've developed love for God, this gives such a tranquil, peaceful journey without any traffic. So I will prefer this path. And once you prefer this path, you are no more trading through the other path. then what happens to those paths? You will find that in the park, I used to follow a particular route, and the grass dried out and a path was created. And then I changed my route after some months. I started walking through some another route. And then what happened? A new path will be created there, and this old path, as I am not trotting there anymore, there the grass will grow. The path won't be there anymore. And that happens with one who has devotion. This new path, that grows deeper and groover, that the groove becomes more and more deep because you are really passing through that. And those other paths through the traffic, you are no more traveling through them. They start getting obliterated. It's no more there. So that's why Sri Ramakrishna used to say, the only way to get rid of all the earthly desires is to develop love for God. The once you develop that, this automatically falls off. In his words, the more you go towards the east, the west falls behind. You cannot push the west. The only way to get rid of the west is go towards the east. The more you go towards the east, the west automatically falls behind. So develop the love for God. That's what he's saying. That you see, sin flies away when love of God grows in a man's heart. Even as the water of the reservoir dug in a meadow dries up under the heat of the sun. He's giving that wonderful example. Just God is like the sun, and our desires are like those little murky water in the meadows. They all vanish when that sun is there, illuminating the so-called the mind of the devotee. All those murky waters, they simply dries off. But one cannot love God if one feels attracted. These two can never go together. Jahan kaam, wahan nahi. Jahan Ram, wahan nahi kaam. This cannot stay together. So if you say that I love God, but still you find the world is attracting, you know it for certain, your love of God is not mature enough. So these two can never go together. But one cannot love God if one feels attracted to the worldly things, to woman and gold. So this is just an indicator. So that you should never be never feel that complacency. Oh, I am sufficiently, a little spiritual, that devotional wailing we have. Oh, I am a devotee. I am very religious. All this ego comes. So Sri Ramakrishna is showing us that the ultimate goal is still ahead. Maybe you have reached some milestone. Little love has developed, which is not bad. But that's not the goal. The milestone is not the ultimate goal. You have to reach the ultimate. That's why he's saying that if you find that there's love for the woman and gold is still there, know it for certain. You are yet to attain that devotion of God. These two can never stay together. But one cannot love God if one feels attracted to worldly things, to woman and gold. Merely taking the vows, and then that's the thing he's saying. This external, all these things are there to aid us to go to that highest realization. If that has not taken me to the highest realization, it's of no use. It's again that same words as Swami Vivekananda said. It's good to be born in a church, but it is horrible to die there. The same meaning we find in these words. Merely taking the vow of monastic life will not help a man if he is attached to the world. It is like swallowing his own spittle after spitting out on the ground. So with this, we conclude our discussion today. We will continue again in the next class. Thank you all.